Hey, what is up? The Leafs Convo back in business. The Sunday Spectacular for Sunday, July 19, 2020. The podcast always presented by Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario. I'm Norm, along with Mike. We are taking steps closer to the big NHL playoff that will happen in Edmonton and Toronto. Mike, I know you've been keeping a close eye on the Maple Brothers. What's the latest?
Good morning, Norm. Well, they're scrimmaging at the Ford Performance Center. They're trying to ramp up the speed and other things that are conducive with playing playoff hockey, since they're only going to have one exhibition game, and they're playing a series of Team Anderson versus Team Matthews. The Team Matthews team is heavily loaded with it's not an equal playing field. It's Tavares and Matthews are on the same team, I think, to test Anderson and to get him sharper, and that team with Matthews and Tavares won 6-2 yesterday. But the surprise of that group was Nick Robertson, who Sheldon Keefe has been very careful to sort of downplay how he's playing in this scrimmage, because everybody is excited that the 18-year-old kid who had the fantastic year with Peterborough this year was going to somehow insert himself into the lineup for the playoffs. But, yesterday he had a goal on a breakaway shorthanded. He had another chance on Anderson late in the first, and he's really impressing. But he was replacing Zach Hyman, who had taken a shot off of his leg on Friday. I still believe unless somebody is playing really badly or unless there's an injury, Robertson will start the playoffs on the outside looking in.
All in time, my friends. This is the Leafs Convo podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe to what we are doing on YouTube. We need the support right now. We are growing. Back in business for sure, with more content every single week leading up to the NHL tournament. Nick Robertson's exciting. He's the kind of player that you want to have added to an already exciting mix. Lots of youth and talent to compound youth and talent that is that much closer to coming into its prime. This is fantastic, but let's not get ahead of ourselves, right? Let's think about what this guy's going to be doing down the line. The Leafs don't exactly need an 18-year-old kid to come in and be the savior here. The Leafs have enough saviors who need to prove not only to us but to themselves they can come through in prime time. And we only have this tournament to come, Mike, and whether this is an asterisk at the end of the day or an abbreviated kind of thing, the players we know and love and appreciate and expect more from will have to deliver. And guys like Nick Robertson hopefully can watch what is about to unfold, get a lot out of it spiritually and mentally, and be that much better when he becomes more of an integral part of the team down the line.
Yeah, he's a new and shiny toy, and everybody should be excited. I mean, getting a player of his caliber, 53rd overall in the 2019 draft, and then having the year that he had playing for Team USA at the World Junior, and then leading the OHL in goals. I mean, even the most optimistic Leaf fan and the most optimistic member of the Leafs scouting staff couldn't have expected Robertson to do that. But it's a feather in the cap of Kyle Dubas, and to go along with Rasmus Sandin at the end of the first round the year before, it proves that the Leaf scouting is doing a fantastic job. But that being said, as you said, I mean, that doesn't mean that you have to insert an 18-year-old with little or no professional experience into a playoff situation. That's why if you look at the lineup that they've been putting out there during practices, it doesn't include Robertson in the top four lines. It's a nice thing for Sheldon Keefe to have an option that if, Pierre Engvall doesn't play well, or somebody else doesn't play well, or, Zach Hyman can't go in game one, which I'm not saying that that's the case, but it gives him an option to insert a young, talented player, and he is showing a lot of hustle in these scrimmages.
Hey, did you know the Leafs Convo Twitter account is still suspended?
I did, and I don't get it, but it doesn't make any sense to me. I'd like to know why.
These days of mourning, the Leafs Convo Twitter account are becoming overwhelming. There's just too many of them, one after another, and every day I click on the account and hope that it is somehow revitalized, but it is not. Apparently, tweeting from the account twice a week with links to our podcast violated social media rules for Twitter. It's a huge deal, folks. Let's get a campaign going, and maybe we'll have 3 or 4 people participate in it. Free the Leafs Convo. Mike, the head coaching matchup that
Mm.
is about to unfold for however long in this first round of this brand new NHL playoff world. Sheldon Keefe on one side, John Tortorella on the other. We know that Keefe is a fiery guy, right? He's a young man's player, but he's a young player's coach, but he's a coach's coach too. Let's not forget this guy. He's got some balls. He's got some jam, and this is the type of dude who's willing to bench William Nylander, willing to mix things up to get the most out of his guys if they're underperforming. And I'm sure he's also the type of dude to look across the bench and say, F you, Torts, F you.
Well, he's got a lot of experience with Torts. Sheldon Keefe, as an NHL player, played all 125 games of his career in Tampa Bay under Torts. So, and even he, in a conference call earlier in the week, said, I was part of that team leading up to when the Lightning won the Cup in '04. And at a certain point, he did, I realized and he realized that I wasn't a good enough player to play on that team. But he's learned a lot of lessons from Torts, and and there was a communication with them. Like when he got the Leafs job, Tortorella apparently sent him an email or a text message congratulating him. And there are certain aspects of Tortorella's coaching style that Keefe has incorporated into his coaching style. So I think there's a respect there. But if you look at it just in terms of resume, you're talking about a coach who's won a Stanley Cup, who's won 2 Coach of the Years, probably will win a third in Tortorella this year with his fantastic job that he did with the Blue Jackets. And Keefe has a Calder Cup, is somebody who is, I think a lot of people think is going to be a really good NHL coach, but hasn't proven it yet at the NHL level. So it's the neophyte versus the old wise man. It's going to be an interesting dynamic because you also have 2 contrasting styles where Tortorella is playing more of a defensive shutdown game because he doesn't have a ton of offensive talent after Panarin and Duchesne and a few others left last year. And we know that the Leafs are going to probably play a high-flying style, although they're trying to, sharpen their 5-man team defense during these scrimmages. It's going to be offense versus defense. It'll be an interesting contrast to see what happens.
Shout out to Hockey DB, as always, the go-to. I'm just on John Tortorella's page. His picture looks like a mugshot after a night of partying. Great mustache. John Tortorella put up 96 points for the Virginia Lancers in 85-86 of the ACHL. Huge. So Hall of Fame stuff.
I didn't know what the Atlantic Coast Hockey League was until I had looked up his profile. That's pretty weird.
Well, I like how you can fill out the acronym, Mike. Thank you. I mean, so this is so educational. He has won 2 Jack Adams Awards over 10 years apart. Over 10 years apart. That's cool. John Tortorella is a case in coaching survival. That disastrous year with the Vancouver Canucks, right? That could have ended it for him. How many coaches stop coaching after their most disastrous seasons, whether statistically or emotionally or blow-ups with the media or with the fans? Like Ron Wilson never came back. Pat Quinn was never the same. Like I know that's the Toronto-based. Those are Toronto-based situations, but there are times where guys who have pedigree and who have produced hit the skids in a place so badly that either they can't figure out a way to come back themselves or they become pariahs. Credit to John Tortorella, 4.5+ seasons with the Blue Jackets winning a Jack Adams, and whether you like him or not, man, he's a survivor.
Well, I mean, I think the situation in Vancouver, I don't think Tortorella is a good fit for a Canadian market. Let's just say that. But everybody knows he's a great coach. He did a great job in Tampa Bay. After a while, the message gets stale and he probably has to move on. He did a fantastic job with the Rangers. And then, after the bad situation in Vancouver, he's done a great job with not a ton of talent in Columbus. And not only the Vancouver situation, but internationally with the American team at the World Cup of Hockey.
Mm.
That team fell on its face. So he and I believe that was before he got the Columbus job. So he's had his ups and downs, but he's a quality coach. And somebody put the question out there a couple of days ago: is Tortorella a Hall of Fame coach? If he's a 3-time Jack Adams winner, I think, and he's won a cup, I think he's going to be eventually down the line.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I like that moniker for the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Columbus Blue Jackets, not a ton of talent.
Yeah, but you don't need that's the thing. You don't need a ton of talent to win in the playoffs if you play the right style. And the matchup between a shutdown defensive team with defensemen like Seth Jones and Zach Werenski, who are a sizable portion of their offense, and that against a team that offensively is one of the best in the league, but we still don't know whether this team can play effective two-way hockey. And that's why I'm ambivalent in terms of what's going to happen in this series, because it's a short series, and if Columbus gets good goaltending and the Leafs make some giveaways, the series, their playoff life could be very short. Somebody like Zach Hyman, who blocked a shot on Friday and wasn't available on Saturday, when asked about his availability, Sheldon Keefe couldn't say anything more than he was not fit to play. Now, everybody knows it's not COVID because he blocked a shot and he left the ice and then came back. But, they're just being careful. But he is limited in terms of his ability to tell everyone whether he's available and the reason he's available. So everything from a hangnail to COVID is going to be shrouded in secrecy. That's just something we're going to have to expect. Like, for example, what's going on with the Bruins right now, David Pastrnak may have been exposed to a player who had tested positive, and he is being held off the ice by the Bruins because of that. But they couldn't say anything, and that was sort of secondhand information coming from other reporters. So, this is the new normal for the next little while.
Absolutely, Mike. What are you working on in the days leading up to the NHL playoffs?
Well, just more of a look at at this particular series and the other series in the East, and the round robin tournament. Because if the Leafs do beat Columbus, they will face one of those 4 teams in the round robin. Also getting prepared for the Buffalo Blue Jays, because it looks like the Blue Jays will be playing in Buffalo. It's either Buffalo or Dunedin, and I can't imagine them going down to the COVID soup in Florida right now. So I'm assuming they will be playing in the Queen City over the next couple months.
Hockey in Canada, baseball in the United States. In these COVID days, for as inconvenient as this seems to be, it's probably the right call, especially with the way things have gotten out of control stateside and how things appear to be under control up north. I can understand the government's hesitation in having a multitude of players constantly back and forth, to and fro, and the quarantine aspect of everything. I guess it makes sense, Mike. I don't want to get political here because some people think this is just a decision, but there's a lot riding on these tournaments, these abbreviated seasons, and cross-border travel. Can you imagine another outbreak here that would most likely come from the United States? It would just be a disaster in so many ways.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. But as an American who is not COVID positive, I would like to be able to visit my favorite country other than my own.
So you can't
in the
even
near
come
future.
over. You can't even just say, "Hey, I got to go up and."
I would have to quarantine for 14 days, so I can't until that is over with. Until the non-essential cross is eliminated. I'm still in Buffalo, so I'll be able to cover the playoffs from my den.
So if you were coming here, you'd have to cross the border, come here, and stay in the basement for 14 days, because that's where I keep you.
Yeah, that's what the reporters covering the playoffs in the hub. They're in Toronto hotels, staying in their hotel for 14 days.
Well, it would make sense in that regard, right? Because you come up for 2 weeks, quarantine, you're good to go, you're here. But if you're baseball players in and out for a quick weekend series, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Don't blame the people who are trying to keep everyone safe. Don't blame the people who are trying to combat this effing thing. We just have to do it. These are the times we're in. We're making the best of it, and hopefully things will get better going forward. They will. The combo will be a part of it. Michael, have a good weekend. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Norm.